Good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and welcome to the Atomic Snack Bar. And tonight we're discussing 5 more retro space opera films. And though it's the second episode in the series, they can be watched in any order. And number 5 on the list is Message from Space from 1978. Directed by Kenji Fukasaku of Battle Royale and the Green Slime fame, Message from Space is a Japanese sci-fi film and the first space opera released after that Star Wars picture folks are always talking about. And it tells the story of a once peaceful planet that has been conquered by warlike, steel-skinned aliens. The planet's former leader sends 8 mystical seeds out into outer space that seek out chosen warriors to return and liberate the planet from the stylish invaders. And these chosen warriors come together, though not necessarily smoothly, to do just that. The film stars American actor Vic Morrow as one of the chosen warriors, a disillusioned military officer and one of the snazziest dressed heroes in the history of space opera. I mean, just look at that outfit. It works not only for this film, but it could fit right in with a Hammer film as well. Morrow had quite a few notable roles with appearances in Humanoids from the Deep, King Creole, and 1990 The Bronx Warriors. Then we have genre film legend Sonny Chiba as a warrior prince with a score to settle. I'm sure many of you know Chiba best from the Street Fighter films.
Game over!
Nope, wrong Street Fighter. I do like that one though, especially this scene.
Quick, change the channel!
Come on, you gotta admit that's funny. But Chiba had a long and impressive career and resume and was even on 2 episodes of Robot Detective. Finally, I wanted to mention Asuko Shihomi as our obligatory space princess. Shihomi was an actress and martial artist who is probably best known in the West as the star of the sister Street Fighter trilogy. Produced by Toei, Message from Space was the most expensive Japanese film ever made at that point, and was nominated for Best Foreign Film at the 1980 Saturn Awards, but it lost to Dinner for Adele. Not long after the film's release, a spin-off TV series called Message from Space Galactic Wars began airing in Japan. It takes place after the film, but follows a new cast of characters, and it ran for 27 episodes. And now it's time for something really interesting, as opposed to all the only kinda interesting stuff I've already mentioned. But footage from the film was used in the video game Astron Belt from 1983. This was a Laserdisc game, and the first of its kind, even beating Dragon's Lair, though the latter made it to arcades first in the US. Another neat little tidbit, footage from Battle Beyond the Stars was also used in said game. But Message from Space is a great looking film with fantastic character designs, sets, and effects. It's really the perfect mix of 1970s anime aesthetics with Western space opera. And get used to some Japan talk on this episode, because there's a whole bunch of coming. And number 4 on the list is Space Adventure Cobra from 1982. Directed by Osamu Dezaki, a famed animator and director who I will discuss more in a moment, Space Adventure Cobra is a theatrically released animated film based on the manga by Buichi Terusawa known simply as Cobra.
Of course not, you halfwit!
Yeah, that's a little closer than usual, I'll take it. But Space Adventure Cobra tells the story of Cobra, a gun-armed space pirate who's believed to be dead. He teams up with a nicely dressed female bounty hunter and the two set out to find her sisters and save a planet. And I'll leave it at that. It's a wild little adventure and definitely goes into some unexpected directions. This is not your usual Star Wars inspired piece, with Terusawa taking influence from spaghetti westerns, the James Bond films, early Disney, Star Trek, and Barbarella. As mentioned at the top of the segment, you know, the one you're watching, director Dezaki was an accomplished animator and director and worked on quite a few well-known animated series, including Bionic 6, Mighty Orbots, and one I can never resist mentioning, Visionaries. But really, that show was awesome with fantastic animation. It deserves to be mentioned. Space Adventure Cobra would receive a theatrical release in the US in 1995, courtesy of Streamline Pictures. And any anime fan in the early 90s probably knows that name well thanks to their high-quality dubs and excellent releases. And in the Streamline dub, for there was another by Manga Entertainment, Cobra was voiced by Dan Warren. Warren is a voice actor probably best known as Roy from the first Robotech series, but he was also Jaggy from the Fist of the North Star film. Then we have Barbara Goodson as our bounty hunter. Goodson is another great voice actor who's probably best known as the voice of Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers. But for me, even being a big Power Rangers fan, Miss Goodson will first and foremost always be Doris from Vampire Hunter D. Space Adventure Cobra holds an interesting claim to fame in that scenes from it were used in the 1991 music video for Girlfriend by Matthew Sweet, And man, I clearly remember seeing that for the first time late one night on MTV. Back in those wacky days where they actually played music videos. I was already an anime fan at that point, so seeing a rock video with anime footage about blew my mind. Darn good song too. I wouldn't though learn where the footage came from until many years later. And number 3 on the list is The Last Starfighter from 1984. Directed by Nick Castle, who co-wrote Escape from New York, The Last Starfighter is a space opera that I actually saw at the theater as a lad. And it tells the story of a fairly average young man leading a fairly average life in a fairly average trailer park. His only real escape is that of a video game known as Starfighter. Turns out, the not-so-fictional space conflict presented here is real, and the game is actually a recruiting device designed to train starfighters. And upon getting the high score, young Alex is recruited into the conflict, which just goes to show you that the parents groups were right all along. Playing violent video games do actually lead to a life of spaceship-based violence. The film stars Lance Guest as our starfighter. Guest is a film and TV actor with appearances in Jaws the Revenge, The X-Files, and the underrated sitcom Becker. Then we have a very familiar face in the world of 1980s genre films, and that's Catherine Mary Stewart. Stewart did several notable films, including Night of the Comet, The Beach Girls, Weekend at Bernie's, and one of my favorite post-apocalypse films, World Gone Wild. Interestingly, she started acting under her real name of Mary Nursall, but Menachem Golan of Canon Films insisted she change it. And finally, I wanted to mention Dan O'Herlihy as a reptilian alien navigator. I'm sure O'Herlihy is no stranger to patrons of the snack bar, having appeared in RoboCop, Twin Peaks, and Halloween 3. And talk about another of the coolest voices in cinema history.
I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever. A joke on the children.
The idea for The Last Starfighter came about when the writer for the film, Jonathan Batel, saw a kid playing a video game at an arcade. Batel was reading The Once and Future King by T.H. White at the time, and things just sorta clicked. Director Nick Castle was also a musician and part of the group The Coupe de Villes, along with John Carpenter. They performed the title track from Big Trouble in Little China, which as a kid, for some reason, I thought it was sung by Kurt Russell and Dennis Dunn. Castle is also famous for acting as a double for comedian Mike Myers. Ooh, I can hear the angry typing now. A novelization of The Last Starfighter was released shortly after the film. It was written by sci-fi writer Alan Dean Foster, who was the ghostwriter of the original novelization of Star Wars. And though well known for novelizations, Foster has written numerous original novels as well. And lastly, I wanted to mention that there was actually a Last Starfighter toy line in the works by Galoob, but when the film didn't set the worlds on fire, it was cancelled. Which is a shame. I really would have dug that. And on that, we should take a commercial break, but stay tuned. We'll be back.
Atari presents its newest star.
Vanguard.
Just like the arcade, 6 zones.
Let me show him the mountain zone.
Hey, check it out. Get the energy pods.
So long, Harley Rockets.
Hey, the rainbow zone is my turf. You can shoot in 4 directions.
All right.
I'll just freeze to the stripe zone. The wall. The wall. Yeah.
But fellas, who destroys the Gund?
Luther destroys the Gund.
Vanguard is here, only from Atari.
You've never seen anything like it. The energy, the imagination, the beauty. Those who know call it anime. You'll call it amazing. The Sci-Fi Channel Global Showcase presents the American television premieres of Robot Carnival, Lensman, and Vampire Hunter D.
And number 2 on the list is Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone from 1983. Directed by actor and director Lamont Johnson, Space Hunter is a sci-fi action film and the direct sequel to Pretty in Pink. It tells the story of Andy, now calling herself Nikki the Twister. Things have not gone too well for her. Because of her dad's antics at the end of Repo Man, she has ended up living on Terra 11, a failed Earth colony that is currently quarantined because of a deadly plague. When 3 young women find themselves stranded on the planet after the destruction of their space cruiser, a former soldier of fortune, along with Space Molly Ringwald, head out to rescue the ladies in order to collect the reward. Unfortunately, the 3 have been taken by the villainous cyborg known as Overdog. The film stars Peter Strauss as our rescuer for hire. Other than Space Hunter, viewers of the snack bar would probably know him best as a voice actor, having worked on Biker Mice from Mars and The Secret of NIMH. Then we have Molly Ringwald in what some say is her finest role, though for me, I most closely associate her with the 1994 version of The Stand. Really underrated little miniseries there. Next up, and possibly most importantly, we have Ernie Hudson as a somewhat friendly rival to our lead. Hudson is an incredible actor with a ton of great roles on his resume, some of which include The Crow, Airheads, and of course Ghostbusters. Speaking of, Hudson actually auditioned to play Winston, his own character, in the real Ghostbusters animated series. And in one of the most head-scratchingly weird moments in TV history, he didn't get the part. And finally, as our cyborg villain, another great genre actor, Michael Ironside. Ironside has a whole bunch of neat roles as well, including appearances in Scanners, Total Recall, and Highlander 2. And yeah, I mentioned Highlander 2, because gosh darn it, I liked that one a lot as a kid. Director Lamont Johnson is someone who many of you are probably very familiar with because of his work on the original Twilight Zone series, having directed 8 episodes, including one of my favorites, The Shelter. Space Hunter was executive produced by Ivan Reitman and released in 3D. The working title of the film was Adventures in the Creep Zone, and apparently there was a whole lot of chaos behind the scenes with the original director being fired and major portions being rewritten. And finally, I wanted to mention that the trailer was narrated by none other than snack bar favorite Percy Rodriguez.
The first movie that puts you in outer space. Space Hunter, Adventures in the Forbidden Zone.
And now it's time for an honorable mention, and that's Flash Gordon from 1979, which is a sleazy parody of the Flash Gordon serials. I was rather surprised by just how many people requested I cover this one, and I might just do that, but not in this series. And number 1 on the list is Galaxy Express 39 from 1979. Directed by Rintaro of Metropolis fame, Galaxy Express 39 is another theatrically released animated film based on the manga of the same name. And it tells the story of a young boy who wants nothing more than a robot body, a procedure that, while expensive, is still rather common. There are rumors that anyone who reaches the last stop of the Galaxy Express 39 can get a robot upgrade for free. So our young hero on a quest for vengeance, that's why he wanted the robot body, manages to find his way aboard the intergalactic train line. His adventure then truly begins. And this is one of the most unique and engaging space opera films ever made. A true classic among animated films. Now, as far as the cast, this is another with multiple dubs. The first was by Roger Corman's New World Pictures. New World got the distribution rights in 1980, but didn't actually release the film until either 81 or 82. There's some contradictory information regarding that. The second release of the film came in 1996 thanks to Viz Media. There's some interesting actors spread out across the different versions. For example, Corey Burton voiced the conductor in the New World version. Burton is an accomplished voice actor who played multiple Transformers including Shockwave. He was also Tomax on G.I. Joe. Then on the Viz side of things we have Scott McNeil as Captain Harlock. McNeil is a really versatile voice actor, having done vastly different voice styles for characters such as Rat Trap and Beast Wars.
Yeah, and just consider yourself lucky I didn't get rough on you.
And Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z.
Thanks to you two, I've come to know that I have a home other than this one in outer space.
As mentioned, Galaxy Express 39 is based on the manga by Leiji Matsumoto of Space Battleship Yamato aka Star Blazers and Captain Harlock. There was also an animated series running at the same time. According to a few different sources I ran across, this was supposedly the top grossing film in Japan from 1979, but I was not able to confirm that. It would receive a sequel in 1981 titled Adieu Galaxy Express. I remember first catching both films on the Sci-Fi Channel back in the 90s, and I had really never seen anything quite like them. And that's all the time we have for this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, watch the skies, and stay atomic.
Next,
set course for chaos.
the skies have become a battleground. Begin the operation.
Now our ancient enemies, the paranoids, are determined to rob us of our new homeland.
There's no telling what they do to stop us.
The only hope for survival lies with the brave.
Take your best shot.
And there's no time to be polite.
Would you just chill out? Our ship's gone!
Enemy fighters approaching at high speed.
We will have our new world.
It's payback time.
Gull Force Eternal Story. Next on the Sci-Fi Channel.